Hey nerds, it's been a minute. I think I forgot how to record. Do you think I forgot how to record? I'm under the impression that I forgot how to record. I should have filled up my vape before I started. Whatever. How's it hanging? Had a bit of a rough go of it. Had to say goodbye to a loved one. Did that whole Rainbow Bridge thing, you know? So I've been, is my camera blurry? There we go. Had to do that whole thing. I've been feeling that way. But, okay, so, y'all know I'm working on one about dreams. That one's delayed for now, which is probably a good thing because I have so much I want to talk about. It might be a multiple-parter because I want to have a guest on, and then I also want to really dig into some science and dig into some spiritual shit. I might end up having to do one sciencey one spiritual one, and then one with a guest or two. So that's going to take a little bit longer for me to prepare and get ready, even if I only do one at a time. Do you like my ass hat? You better like my ass hat. But this one, I asked for some input from my friends, and it was strongly encouraged that I do a Cryptids episode. And I've talked about Cryptids a little bit in the past, but not really, you know? A lot of things that I've talked about that are Cryptids are more like, not quite Cryptids, kind of like the Skinwalkers and what have you. So, I'm just going to do a short little one on a few different interesting ones that I haven't heard of before. And well, let's get into it, I suppose. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Feel free to direct them to my PR team. My PR team is me. I do this alone. Alright. So, one of my favorite things about cryptids is the way that they vary based on the local culture of an area while still upholding many of the same characteristics in their different stories. So, you take a story or description of a cryptid that's local to, like, Southern California, and you take another cryptid that's from the Midwest, and they're gonna be different based on the culture there and the environment there. I mean, obviously, if you have an animal-based cryptid, it's gonna be an animal that's like something that's mostly natural to the area or similar to an animal that's natural to the area. And then if it's more of a human-based cryptid, the stories about it, like the background information about what makes it spooky or whatever, is going to be influenced by the local culture. And I think that that's cool as hell. Shit like the Beast of Bray Road, the Loveland Frog, Bunny Man, and even the Loch Ness Monster. They all kind of have that. I already did an episode on the Loch Ness Monster. I got pretty deep into that one. Get it deep, because it's water. I published that one in February of 2022, if you want to check that one out. It was back when I was making shorter episodes, so it's under half an hour. I worry, based on the length of my writing here, that this one's going to be short too. But hopefully I can make it as entertaining as possible, so it's... I know y'all like the longer episodes. You like it to be about an hour. And I know when I listen to podcasts, I like them to be about an hour too. I use them to tell time. So I don't know if y'all are the same, but it seems like you are. So, the stories that we share among ourselves about these weird creatures tends to highlight some really interesting shit about humanity, community, and our love of stories that make us uncomfortable. As a connoisseur of all things that make people uncomfortable, of course, cryptids are of great interest to me. So I'm gonna try to make this fun. So I'm not gonna... Corn dog! And I hope you didn't hear that. I have the thing around my mic, so it shouldn't pick up noise a certain distance away. But Corn is just, like, shaking right next to me, making his necklace go k-k-k. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm not gonna get too far into it here. But let me know if you'd like a science-y deep dive into the cultural and psychological significance within these cryptid stories. Suffice to say, for our intents and purposes today, all of these stories follow certain patterns. They're basically gossip. Word about the Loveland Frogman, for example, traveled through Ohio in much the same way as rumors do in high school. Someone said something weird happened, and now every once in a while someone else says that they saw the same weird thing. And the sightings of the Loveland Frog come in a predictable cycle, apparently, according to this guy named Edgar Slotkin, who's a folklore professor at the University of Cincinnati. And the stories all start when someone thinks they see something, they get freaked out in the night because a crazy shadow moves across the road, or they see some glowing eyes in a field, and then the story gets told and shared and shared and told, either because people are terrified about it, super interested in it, or when people are terrified of it, it sort of gives me the same vibe as like the Satanic Panic or the modern witch craze. There's like a public panic aspect to it. And then when that happens, everyone's so freaked out about it that whether they do or not, they think that they see the creature. It's fun. And then they spook each other out at slumber parties about it. And then a decade or so later, someone else out of nowhere says they saw the freaky thing again, and here we go back into the cycle. I love monsters, and I'll rip my tits off in excitement about a good spooky mystery, but even more than that, I fucking love stories and storytelling, you know? That's my big shit. But that was my main motivation for getting a degree in history. History is just a bunch of stories about humans. And the stories are totally different depending on whose perspective is narrating that story. The variety of tales to be told through history are endless. Infinite. Anyhow, I'm going to tell you some stories about some of my favorite lesser-known cryptids. I think we've got 3 today. The first weird fucker I've come to tell you about is the Loveland Frog. Mentioned him in the intro. Or them, I suppose. So, it is also called the Loveland Frogman. So if I slip up and just call it a him, that's because my brain is stupid and I'm looking at words. So the tale of the Loveland Frog appears to begin in 1955 in the town of Loveland, Ohio. The legend, as it is now told, goes that a traveling businessman was driving down a dark, desolate road late in the night when he saw 3 very strange figures lurking near the roadside. He slows the car and tries to get a better look at these weird fellas, because of course, why would 3 people just be standing around the road in the middle of the night? Maybe they needed help, or perhaps they were up to some shenanigans. As he approached, he saw that they were only 3 or 4 feet tall. So if they were people, they were all rather small people. And that's even less common to come upon at such a time of night. Not even one tall homie among the group? That's, someone's gotta be taller, You're hanging out in the middle of the night. You have one tall friend with you, right? I don't know what I'm talking about. And then finally, he gets close enough to see these silly little guys, and he finds that they have leathery green skin, hunched postures, and faces like frogs. Honestly, in my head, they're kind of like... Okay, first off, those old books with the little frog people, and they ride the bike. That's first, but then after that, when I just read that description, my brain paints a picture of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because their faces were a little bit more frog-like, I think, than turtle-like, in my opinion. And they've got the shells, so they're kind of hunched with the leather. It's funny to imagine them as being the Ninja Turtles, is what I'm saying. Just kind of standing there by the road. As you can imagine, he nopes the fuck out of there immediately. Some versions of the story say that one of them was holding a small stick up in his hand as if it was a wand. Now, personally, I love the idea of a group of little magical frog people who go practice spells together in the middle of the night. And the only thing that could make that better for me is if they had cute little wizard hats. Right? Are you here with me? I've found out that not everyone imagines visual pictures in their head when they think or when they read. And I always have a very visual imagination. That's probably why I like to draw and stuff, because I can see an image in my head and I think that's fucking cool. I wish that existed in reality. And so I'll get all stoked and I'll try to make it. Whether or not my attention deficit will allow me to finish that drawing. Looking at you, giant mural that I started like 2 months ago. But, yeah. So I feel like that's interesting. Quick poll. I'll post it on the Patreon too. Do you think in images, or is it just words? If you don't think in images, is reading unbearably boring to you? Because I imagine it would be. When I'm reading, I'm playing out this like entire movie in my head. And so it's fucking fun, you know? Free movie, but I can like tweak what everything looks like to be more visually appealing to me. No ugly characters. Anyway, so I like to imagine that these frog people had cute little wizard hats, and they were all going, "Oh," with their little magic sticks, trying to cast spells to make, what do frogs like? To make flies come around or something. And they're like, "Fuck yeah, fly meal." You know, I'm done. The legend of the Frogman regained popularity in 1972 when a police officer, ACAB, told a friend that he had seen something weird that fit the description of the Frogman based on the original story. The cop in 1972 claimed that he was driving down a road called Riverside Drive when some strange animal scrambled across the road in front of him, and he saw it clearly in the light of his headlights. He said that it was crouched down like a frog, but it suddenly stood up on its hind legs and climbed over the guardrail and down toward the nearby river. 2 weeks after this incident, another cop reported seeing the same thing. Another 3 to 4 foot long animal crouched along the road in the same area as the first cop's sighting. Now this cop shot the animal, ACAB, and brought the body with him to show the other officer. As it turns out, the critter was a big-ass iguana that was missing its tail. So it was a pet that either escaped its enclosure or someone released it into the wild because they're irresponsible and a piece of shit. Apparently, the cop later told the story to an author who was writing a book on urban legends, only for the writer to just, like, completely omit that whole part where it was an iguana. So that's bad journalism. But I don't think that this iguana that was two of the sightings completely... I refuse to believe that there aren't little magic frog people. You know, I refuse to accept that. Not in my reality. Fuck me shit about that. And then there was another sighting in 2016 when someone was playing Pokemon Go. I remember in 2016 when Pokemon Go came out, there were so many weird things that happened because people were just like wandering around looking for Pokemon. People were falling in fucking ditches. I think someone found some body parts about it. Like, so if it was gonna happen again in modern times, it was gonna be when they released Pokemon Go. I dare say. The person who saw the critter said that he had crossed some train tracks toward a lake when he spotted something weird. And he says it was a huge fucking frog, and it stood up and walked on its hind legs. He swore on his grandmother's grave, and that's a quote from the news source. He swore on his grandmother's grave that he was telling the truth, and he sent in a few dark photos that he got while trying to capture an image of the creature. This article by WLWT, I can't figure out what that stands for, but it's a local news station in Ohio. The article claims that these photos support his claim, but I'm looking at it, and I don't know how I feel about it. Because there's nothing else in the frame to provide a reference to size. You know, there's no banana for scale. And the lights of its eyes look, like, enhanced or something. Like, it straight up looks like two flashlights pointed at the camera. So it seems shooped to me, like it was photoshopped. But I'm a skeptic. I'll post the image to Patreon, and maybe if I can figure out how to put it in the video too, I will. I'm not good at video editing. That's why I do like one take It gets complicated with my boomer brain, but I'll do my best, alright? One thing I think is funny about the Frogman is that, like, for the most part, he's been spotted by cops. Or they've been spotted by cops. And I feel like it's really funny that the frog people like to show up just to freak cops out. I love that for them. Okay, so I don't know why we're hanging out in the Midwest so much tonight, but now we find ourselves in Wisconsin. This is a cryptid I've always thought was cool because, well, like, if you know me at all, which I think you probably all, to some extent, do, anything dog-like is gonna make me happy. It didn't make it into my episode about demon dogs because I've had a hard time finding enough information on it to really, like, dig in and make a long enough section for it. But since I'm doing kind of a longer, or trying to make a longer compilation here, I'm a pop off about the Beast of Bray Road. They've made some documentaries and movies about the beast, so maybe it's just a fucking me problem that I haven't had enough info to flesh it out to a satisfactory level. I don't know. We'll see. And now that I have everything written, it's not just a me problem. Like, I'm pretty good at research. I didn't find a whole lot about the Beast of Bray Road. So, I haven't seen these documentaries or movies or whatever, so I bet they really I'm sure that they put their own little flourish on it to make it a cohesive story worth watching. Or maybe they found the witnesses, because there are a lot of witnesses. Maybe they found them and actually got some interviews. That would be kind of cool to see. Because all I found was just, like, brief one-sentence rundowns of a handful of sightings. And honestly, that was a bad format. So hopefully I don't sound like I'm just saying a sentence about a thing. I think I wrote it out better. Coughing. The earliest reported sighting of the beast was allegedly in 1936. Several more reports were made in the 1980s and 90s. It was purportedly first seen on a rural farm road, Bray Road, as you might have guessed, and has been described as a huge 6 to 7 foot tall wolf/human-looking creature, standing on its hind legs and covered in fur, with the head of a wolf but the body of a human. Witness testimony varies, as some report seeing it walking or running on 2 legs, and others describing it as running like a dog on all 4s. Even for a human body, that's really big, right? 7 feet fucking tall. So imagining it, even if it didn't have the human body and it was just like a wolf running on all 4s with a wolf body, that's fucking big, boys. That's a big boy. I want to give him pets. No, he sounds like a jerk, honestly. Essentially, these people are describing a fucking werewolf, though, am I right? If it's got, like, a human body and a wolf head and it's all hairy, I think it sounds like a werewolf. There are so many other ghostly dogs all around the world, though, so I love to think that they're a real thing. Either that or we make up dog things because of our familiarity with canines. I think I go into that in my Demon Dogs episode. But, yeah. So I'm not going to do it again here. Unlike a lot of other ghost or demon dogs, though, the Beast of Bray Road doesn't seem to be an omen. It just kind of terrorizes animals and people. Most other ghost dogs or specter dogs or demon dogs or whatever that I've studied, they're omens of death. Either meaning that you're going to die soon because you saw them, someone you love is going to die soon, some catastrophe is about to occur within the next, I don't know, time varies. But this guy isn't like that. He's just a big old butthole. He mutilates animals and just kind of scares the shit out of passersby in the night. I suppose that's his shtick. Several witnesses have claimed that the beast ran up to their vehicles and even left long scratch marks on the doors and body panels of their cars. One person reported hitting something wolf-like that was crossing the road. But when she got out of the car to see if it was alive, it glared at her with huge red eyes and chased her back into her vehicle, scratching the shit out of her rear passenger door. That'd be terrifying. I don't want that to happen to me. Never get out of your car at night. I don't care if you hit a whole ass human. Don't get out of your car on a rural road in the middle of the night. Something's bound to kill you. That's what I've learned from all of the urban legend and folklore stuff I've read, and also from true crime and knowing that people do that. Okay, sorry to get sidetracked, but you know how I am. There's this like method of robbing people where they'll have someone like lay in the road as if they're injured, and then they hope that someone driving by is going to stop to see if they're okay, and then they burgle the shit out of them. So it makes me feel like an asshole to know that if I saw someone laying in the roadside, I would be too much of a pansy ass to pull over and try to help them. But I would call the proper authorities to go check them out. Be like, hey, dude, there's some fucker laying face down on the road by mile marker 13 or something. I would do that. And I feel like that's the best I can do with how likely it is to be murdered, in my opinion. Okay, maybe it's not super likely to get murdered, but it does happen. And I would like to not be the one having it done to them. Anyway, so if you didn't know about that tactic, now you do. So just never get out of your car at night alone. Just don't do it. Something's gonna get you. Okay. Some people claim to see the beast during the day as well, but it seems to come out more often at night. When it's seen during the day, it's usually running on all fours through the cornfields, and one time it was chasing a deer, apparently. Which tells me that it isn't necessarily nocturnal, but during the night they can't see it hanging out in the fields because it's fucking dark out. Therefore, it only being spotted when it's at the road. Honestly, it probably just thinks the cars are freaky. Like, especially if people are hitting the poor thing. I'd attack cars too if I was being bullied by them and didn't know what was going on. Sheesh. As for the animal mutilations that I mentioned earlier, people say that along Bray Road, they often find partially eaten animals, like, all over the place. Deer and livestock mostly. But it's weird that the animals aren't totally eaten. Most animals will either eat the whole thing then and there, or drag it to where they like to sleep and munch on it for a couple days. But that does not seem to happen on Bray Road. And sometimes, apparently, specific organs have been removed and the flesh itself isn't eaten at all. Like, it just rips the liver out, or pancreas, or like the delicious appendix, you know? And it sounds to me a lot like some versions of werewolves here, because there are some versions of the werewolf where they just eat the heart, and that's how they maintain their life force, is just by eating a heart, and they don't really eat anything else, just the heart. So it sounds like that to me. There's a similar creature in Michigan called the Dog Man, and I swear it's basically the exact same description and the same types of sightings, and it's in the same region. I'd be surprised if these fellers are real, that they aren't the same type of thing. There's another similar fuzzy guy in Utah called the dire wolf. Anyway, like I said, freaky dog ghosts and cryptids are just everywhere. That's just something humans fucking love. Anyone, anywhere is going to come up with a dog or wolf related cryptid. And I think that's so cool. Which is why, of all the cryptids, I think that those are the most likely to actually be a thing, even if they are just random wolves that got too big and are otherwise avoiding capture. Like, it's too plausible. I don't know about this guy and his attacking the cars, though. I couldn't find any photos of it. Everyone says it happened, but I didn't see any photos. I gotta share this shit. Though, to be fair, the other day I ran into wolves. They were pretty far away, but they were there, and I heard them howling. And I was too dumb to pull my phone out to try to get a video recording of the howling, so I guess, to be fair, it would be hard to think of pulling your phone out or something at times when there's some weird shit going on. And especially for these people in the 80s and 90s, cell phones weren't really a thing. You guys remember car phones? It was all the rage, I think, in the 80s to have like a literal phone. Like you hang it up and it's got buttons in your car. And I think that's hilarious. Because then when cell phones came out, which is literally the same thing, but like, yeah, at the time it was still the same thing with the bricks. And they were banned. And it's like, you can't be on your phone while driving, when they used to like install them on purpose in cars. I don't know. I'm ranting again. Anyway, that's the Beast of Bray Road. I think he sounds cool. I'd hang out with him. Y'all, I don't know if you know this, but I mixed like the worst tuna in the world earlier today. And I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's the brand of tuna happens to be garbage, if I didn't drain all the juice out perhaps, or if I just severely miscalculated the amount of mayonnaise that would be acceptable in such a dish. But I'm a little upset about that. Sorry, I had to look at it while I was grabbing a drink, and also it's somewhat relevant to the next monster. I just wanted someone to know, because I've been thinking about it all day, and I am heartbroken, and I need the support of my community right now to deal with how gross this tuna I made is, okay? I don't feel like that's a whole lot to ask. I work so hard. Okay. Anyway. The relevance here is just water. So, as I was researching creatures to talk about for you guys, I wanted to get out of the Midwest, and I also wanted to talk about a critter that lives in the spookiest place on Earth, other than, like, church. Other than church, the spookiest place. The mighty depths of the ocean. Like the tuna. Like the gross tuna I made. I've come to tell you the tale of a gnarly-ass sea monster who reportedly lives in a place called the Blue Holes. Holes. In the Bahamas. I had to look this up because that's a funny name for a place. Blue Holes is apparently a huge underwater sinkhole or cavern. And it looks beautiful, but I'm gonna be real here. Even if there wasn't a sea monster in there, that shit freaks me out. A giant marine sinkhole? No. No. I won't be having any of that. No, sir, get that weird wet hole out of here. Oh, no, no. I'll try to get a picture of that for you, too. Once again, no promises. Boomer brain. Oh, yeah, I haven't told you the name of the monster yet. Our special guest today is named the Luska. The Luska has been described as something like a giant octopus, cuttlefish, or a half-shark, half-octopus abomination of the briny deep. It is said to grow between 75 and 250 feet long. And there is no evidence that any octopus species can grow to this size, so if they're seeing it, even if it is just some kind of crazy octopus, it still counts as a monster to me. That shit is huge. That is insane. Nothing on this earth has a right to be 250 feet long. Other than Jormungand, the Midgard serpent. That's the only one allowed. I think the Midgard serpent's much longer than that, honestly. It's supposed to go all the way around the world. I'm bad at measuring. I don't know distance. I have no depth perception. Even when I was building boats, I had to measure things like 16 times, and I still fucked up. So, don't talk to me about the length of anything. It's just, I'm sorry. So the Luska is pretty well known in Caribbean mythology, and it's one of the most feared ocean-dwelling beasts. Sometimes the Luska is described as a single creature that wreaks solitary havoc, and other stories claim that it's its own sort of species that travels in a pod like whales do. Either way, it feeds on unsuspecting mariners or tourists, and or the pod of the Luska swim all along the Gulf, devouring everything that crosses their path. Apparently, the creature has gained some popularity in media lately, being the subject of a couple documentaries, being discussed in some series of books, all that good shit. And now I'm offended because this is my passion and my job, and I ain't never heard of the damn thing. We're learning about this one together. I guess I did do my preliminary research, but I said, I believe, I like to think, I feel like we're learning this together, so just let me have this. According to the mythology, it is definitely a chimera rather than just a big octopus. And for anyone who doesn't know what a chimera is, that's a creature that is sort of a combination of multiple different animals. Like, they were one of my favorite things to draw as a kid. I don't know why I don't draw more chimeras anymore. So things that would have like horse hooves, a wolf head, and eagle wings. That would be a chimera. The Luska is supposedly a combination of some of the Caribbean's most terrifying aquatic animals. And, I mean, a shark, the octopus, nasty things of the ocean. And it's not their fault that I think they're nasty. They never done anything wrong to me. But they freak me out. They're just so much better at being in the water than I am. Like, I'll go on top of the water on a big boat, but like, okay, I've jumped in the ocean before too. So when I'm actively doing it, it's not spooky to me most of the time. Unless I get bored enough for my brain to go, it's coming for you. What it is, I cannot tell. But yeah, it's their house. It's not their fault they look like that. I'm trying not to be rude to the creatures in the ocean, but if we've learned anything from orcas lately, that's their house, and we should ask permission before going in the first place, okay? I love that orca thing. God damn it. Okay. So this monstrosity is frightfully fast, moving through the water with unbelievable ease and quickness, which is terrifying. My God, nothing that big should be allowed to be that fast. Like you get one or the other, right? How God intended. Fuck no, that's unacceptable if you ask me. You either are giant or you're fast. You can't have both. You can't have both. It's not fair. This bloodthirsty bastard is said to have the upper body, like a shark, I guess, suggesting, all the way to its dorsal fin. So it's got the fin on the back like a shark, but then the lower half turns into a tangled mass of octopus tentacles, suckers and all. And it's not just any shark's upper body, it's a great white shark's upper body. So Jaws type of shark. Oh God, and the increased size. See, I want to know if it has a beak too, like the octopus beak. I bet it does. So if it has the upper body of a shark, it probably turns into an octopus before it gets to the shark's butthole, right? And I could be off base here. I haven't studied marine biology to much of an extent at all, but I believe that octopi, those guys, they have the hole in the center with a little beak, and they can like crush shells with it and eat the food. That's where their butthole is too, right? Are they like unbirds? Like how birds have their adulty bits and their buttholes in the same hole? Are octopuses like I'm gonna say octopuses. I like it better. Is their butthole near their mouth? I'm gonna look this up. Hang on. They totally have butthole mouths. Oh, wow. Okay. Won't be unseen. So it has two mouths. So the Luska has two mouths. It doesn't need two mouths either. You get one mouth. You get one thing that's crazy, either the size or the speed, and you only get one mouth. So it has the mouth of a great white and the mouth an octopus, both of which are frightful to me as a land-dwelling being. What if sharks lived on land and they had, like, feet? They wouldn't be as scary, I don't think, because the way that their body is shaped is what makes them scary, is because they can move through the water so fast. It would end up with, like, fat legs or something. That wouldn't be as scary on land at all. That's actually acceptable to me. Anyway, it is said that much like other members of the octopus family, the Luska can camouflage and change its appearance to blend in with its environment. So you won't even see it coming until it's shooting upward toward the bottom of your boat to swallow you whole. Okay, so now, as many of you know, I used to sail tall ships, and I feel perfectly safe and at home on a big old boat. I think the Hawaiian Chieftain, which is the boat that I used to sail, I think it could stand a chance against this. Maybe not if it was the full 250 feet. If it was only a 75-foot guy, yeah. But the Hawaiian Chieftain had a steel hull, so might have been alright. But anything smaller than that, knowing that this creature might be down there, I probably wouldn't go anywhere near those freaky blue holes. Fuck that. Fuck all that noise. That's terrifying. So I thought that the coolest part about this creature are people's potential explanations for what and why it is. And there are several theories about this. Why it lurks in the depths, causing relentless fucking terror. I think the coolest explanation is that the Luska is a creature that was formed by the ghost of an angry drowned woman. And so her ghost was so tormented that it took the form of a monstrous beast that only hunts, destroys, and kills because it's trapped in the cycle of this woman's fear and anger. I love stories like that, like La Llorona and potentially Bloody Mary. Otherwise, people obviously liken it to the Kraken, which, you know, just another unidentified deep-sea creature that's so old, powerful, and wise that it's avoided capture all this time. And still also, it could be some nasty shit like the gods from the Lovecraftian tales. That's also fun for me. I love the deep ones. Ugh. Nothing commands respect like a deep one, you know? Oh, and this one too. This explanation states that the Luska is the conjoined spirit of multiple human sacrifices. Some say that Luskas frequent areas with dark pasts where human sacrifices were made or where there is a history of great pain and bloodshed. The souls of those lost have kind of like stuck together, and their combined fury and pain transformed them into this monster. Love it. Love it. Terrifying, and I love it. So, like, those are my 3 random dudes I picked out. While I was doing research for this, I was reminded of several other cool cryptids and or creatures from urban legend. I'm going to open that back up so you can see me again. And other creatures from urban legends that I've, like, learned about or looked into before. One of them, I actually wrote half of an episode for, but it's on my old laptop, which is just busted all to shit. So I might try to recover the hard drive. I've been talking about it for months and I just haven't bothered. It's hard. It's hard. I don't wanna. But it has shit on there that I'd like. I have several partially written, or at least outlined episodes on there, which would be helpful because I keep getting like writer's block. I have a lot of big ones that I really want to do, like the Dream one. Another one that I'm doing kind of as an homage to my friend who passed recently. But those are ones that are going to require a lot of research and a lot of care on my end to make sure that I do them right and do them justice. So that's, it's not been great for my ability to put episodes out regularly or consistently. So I am always open to suggestions, for one, but also I might do another cryptid episode, or maybe just maybe like an urban legend ghost story episode, Kind of like when I did the Bloody Mary one, but less intensive. So that way, there's a plethora of information about these things. I just can't come up with them off the top of my head to get excited about them enough to really do enough research. But these ones, stuff like these random cryptids, the information on them is readily available, pretty simple, and there's not a whole lot. So it works perfect for when my life is being chaotic and I don't really have a whole lot of time to sit here doing 10 to 20 hours of research on something. So I like this. It's a lot shorter. I think I've been talking faster than usual because I'm in a really good mood and I got a nap earlier. So I think that's part of why this episode's gone by faster. But if y'all don't mind the slightly shorter episodes and the less intensive information, I know that I'm way more proud of myself when I do the intense research, because usually before I record those, it ends up being like a 10-page scholarly written article with full sources cited and stuff, and then I have to like switch it and change it into more of a script that makes sense for me to sit here on camera and say to you in a more like in a more personable, what's the word? More casual, yeah, in a more casual way. So it ends up being a lot of fucking time and brain power, and I can't really have time with that when I'm taking care of life things and dealing with emotional turmoil. So it's nice. Let me know if you guys like this one, so then I can know in the future if I'm stressing about how I don't have the emotional energy or capacity or the time physically to do one of my more in-depth ones, if this is going to be just fine as well. So, 'cause I'm not sure. I haven't done short ones like this or less intensive ones for like a year now. I started making the longer ones, and it just depends on whether or not you like it. And no, I'm not just continuing to talk and ramble for the sake of making it longer. That is a happy accident. Let me think. I feel like there was something else I wanted to tell you guys. What was it? Tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. Tell me what I wanted to tell you. Okay, I'm out. Later, nerds. I lied and I'm back. I lied. I'm back. You should share my shit around so I get more viewers. I like to think that I'm cute and funny and smart, and I'm sure that someone else in the world is going to agree, and they'll want to watch me and listen to me, and that would be really helpful, because viewership, whatever. Okay, now I'm gone. Fuck out of here, nerd. Okay, so with the whole butthole beak mouth thing, so you know how like you can make your face look like a butthole, but then it's got the beaky teeth like an octopus. So I imagine it's like, there are pictures of it on the internet. I don't know why I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to imagine it with my own. That's so.